Welcome to That's Time, a speech and debate podcast.
Because there aren't any.
We're your hosts, Astrid
and McCartney.
And welcome to this month's debate episode of That's Time.
Before we begin today's activity, Sassy and I just want to share with you a fair warning. Astrid, this still isn't our HD.
Oh, right. Moving on, we're going to start with a recap of all the latest in the speech and debate world. McCartney, will you start us off with a quick, non-sponsored off-time news report?
This just in, we have a flooding amount of new reports from the NSDA. To start, the NSDA has announced a live Q&A with best-selling author Rebecca F. Kwong on the 29th of January at 5 o'clock p.m. Rebecca is renowned for her Poppy War trilogy book series and is an inspiration to the speech and debate community. Make sure you don't miss it live on Instagram. Next, the NSDA has also announced that they are now accepting nominations for the Activating Equity Award. The winning nomination receives $5,000 towards their goal. You can submit a nomination online through the NSDA's Instagram bio. Apart from NSDA news, let's take some time to recognize the important people in the speech and debate world. Astrid, will you take it away with our Speech and Debate Nerd of the Week Award?
Of course. For those who don't know, McCartney and I created a Nerd of the Week award to celebrate the achievements of our peers. We choose someone new each episode. But this week, we'd like to recognize a renowned, hard-working speech and debate nerd, Kayden Wilcox. Our papa. Congratulations on earning this award. Kayden has been serving the speech and debate community in Oklahoma for over 4 years and is a 2-time state champion in domestic extemp and a 1-time state champion in public forum debate. This year, he hopes to make it to nationals with domestic extemp. Thanks for all you do, Kayden, and sorry for not giving you a shout out on the last episode. Don't worry to all you other speech kids because in our next episode, we will be handing this award over to another person. Feel free to send us nominations through our Instagram DMs at That's Time Speech and Debate.
Kayden, you're our liege. Speaking of successes, specifically in debate, what are the current debate topics anyway?
Glad you asked. Let's go ahead and tell our listeners what they are. To start, let's go ahead with the Lincoln-Douglas debate topic for January and February of 2025. The topic is, resolved, the United States ought to become party to the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea and or the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. McCartney, could you read us the novice topic?
Sure. The Lincoln-Douglas debate novice topic is, resolved, in the United States, national service ought to be mandatory.
Lovely. Let's go ahead and move on to public forum. The topic for January of 2025 for public forum debate is, resolved, the African Union should grant diplomatic recognition to the Republic of Somaliland as an independent state. McCartney, could you read us the February topic?
Yes. The Public Forum 2025 February topic is resolved. The United States should accede to the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court.
Spoiler alert, it is basically the same thing as LD. So, if you do LD and PF, it's your lucky day.
Yay!
Moving on, let's do the policy debate topic. I'll be reading this one because McCartney loathes policy. So, if you don't already know, the policy debate topic for 2024 and 2025 is as follows. Resolved. The United States federal government should significantly strengthen its protection of domestic intellectual property rights and copyrights, patents, and or trademarks. Now, finally, McCartney, take it away with big questions.
The 2024 through 2025 Big Questions topic is resolved. Creativity is a more powerful force than intelligence.
Awesome.
Now that we know all the debate topics, let's focus more on one in particular. Because our first event was LD, it only seems right to start with that. Today's episode is all about Lincoln-Douglas debate and our own personal tips and tricks to get you started. Let's go!
Woohoo! Okie doke. So, it's time for the renowned, I've said that word 3 times throughout this episode, LD Lincoln-Douglas debate.
Dun, dun, dun.
That was really in sync.
That was really good.
That was good. Oh my god, that reminds me of that one Camp Rock clip that's like,
whoa, she's really good. Yeah, with the keyboard,
Anyway, I don't think of she's really good when I'm in an LD round, because that just makes me think of sadness. But we're not here to hate on LD today, because it's actually what we're going to be talking about.
Yes.
So if you're new to debate, if you're interested in doing LD, even if you've done LD, if you're just, I don't know, a little guy sitting in his room listening to this episode, you're in the right place, because we are going to go in depth into LD today.
Yes, let's go.
Now, I will say we're not going to be doing a topic analysis in this episode, but
it's going to be more of like an overview of the event itself.
Yeah, exactly. I will say, though, later on in our episodes, we will eventually start doing topic analysis stuff, but it is not in this one. So if that's what you're looking for, spoiler alert. Get out.
Don't actually get out. I'm so sorry.
No. But spoiler alert, that isn't what we're going to be doing today, because today we're doing an overview like McCartney said. So we're going to talk about what LD is, what a case is going to look like, round structure, and then my personal favorite part, our own tips and tricks for winning an LD round or simply just surviving it. Because they're rough. No hate to LD kids or the event, but
no, yeah, that's completely fair.
It is certainly not my favorite event. Courtney's more of a pro on it than I am.
I wouldn't say pro, though. I do have a year of experience doing LD under my belt, but I do not do it anymore.
Yeah, that is it's good to know. We don't do it anymore, but McCartney did it all of last year.
I did it all of last year,
so
up until regionals. I made it to regionals with LD, but did not go beyond that, and now I'm done with it.
Yeah, pretty much. But we do have some experience. McCartney's a lot more qualified than I am, because I only did it for a few months, so I'll kind of be chiming in, but McCartney's going to kind of take over a lot of the stuff in this episode.
Let's go!
Because she just knows more than I do, simply. So, McCartney, could you explain to me and to our dearest listeners what Lincoln Douglas debate actually is and what it's about?
Okay, so LD, or Lincoln Douglas debate, is essentially an argument over the morality of a topic. Each person is going to be arguing about why their side of the argument should be morally preferred over their opponents, using two things. One is a value and the other is a criterion, and we'll dive later like a little more into what those things specifically are, but essentially LD is just a debate on the ethics and morals of a topic.
Yeah, exactly. And at least in Oklahoma, it's unique because we don't have a lot of debate events that are 1v1. So something to know if you've never done LD, or again, if you're just listening for funsies, it is a one person versus the other person. So there's no teams in it, which can be beneficial if you work better alone. It's not for me, but it is for a lot of people. And also cases can sometimes be a little more tailored to your own stuff. Speaking of cases and case writing, LD cases are very, very different from what a policy case or a PF case would look like, because they have things like McCartney talked about called a framework, which usually just consists of the value and the criterion. Now, if you're sitting in your little chair, if you're walking, I don't know where you are, but good for you. Wherever you are, you may be thinking, what's a value and what's a criterion? Well, McCartney probably has an explanation, I would hope.
Yes,
because
you are in luck.
She's going to explain it.
Yes.
McCartney, what is a value? What's criterion too?
Okay.
Dive in.
So, the reason that LD cases stand out from the cases that you'll see in pretty much any other debate event is because of the fact that they have a special kind of framework which consists of a value and a criterion. Ooh. But what the flip are those things?
Good question.
You're about to find out.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Shots fired.
Yeah. A value is essentially just a principle that you're trying to uphold throughout a round through your case. It's essentially just, what is good about affirming or negating this resolution, like, depending on what side you're on. It's just saying, my case upholds the principle of whatever your value is. Let me explain this better. So, for example, one example of a value could be, like, happiness, health, quality of life, stuff like that. And what you're trying to do is prove not only how your case upholds the value that you chose, but also how your value should be prioritized or preferred against your opponent's value.
Yeah, for sure. And a big thing, again, that you're going to want to remember, and I feel like I'm going to probably say this about 5 times throughout this episode, is that your framework, which again is your value and your criterion, are pretty much the most important thing in the entire round.
Yes.
So really, when you're choosing your value and criterion, really be thinking exactly about how you want the round to go and what your contentions are going to look like, because your contentions should also support the value and criterion. That's a huge thing.
Your contentions should always, always, always uphold your value and criterion, because that's the whole point of including the framework in your case.
Exactly. Because if you have it there for no reason, it's literally pointless. And also, what? Why would you put that there? That just doesn't make sense.
There's no point in advocating for a value that you yourself can't even uphold within your case, which is why they're so important.
Exactly. So we talked about what a value is, and I think we gave some examples, right? You did.
Yes.
So moving on to the criterion, what is a criterion? And if you could give us some examples, that'd be fire.
Right. So now that we know kind of what a value is, we need a way to kind of weigh why you should kind of prefer your value in a round. So essentially what a criterion is like a weighing mechanism to determine whose value should be prioritized more.
Like the moral compass.
Yes. It's essentially your moral compass in a round, and it's supposed to prove why your value should be upheld. Some examples of this should hopefully.
They should hope you, you guys.
They should hopefully help you better understand what a criterion is. So what exactly are some examples of a criterion?
Good question. There are so many examples for criterions.
There are.
We're only going to go over a few, and specifically the most popular ones.
Yes.
A big thing to remember, and again, all of the value and the criterions are just philosophical concepts. There are so many for you to choose from.
Yes. So do not limit yourself to the examples that we've listed here.
Exactly. So our first example is good old utilitarianism.
Yes. So our first example of a criterion is also probably the most basic and overused example. That doesn't mean it's bad. I will say, I will admit, I've used it a lot of times.
Same.
But it's just very overused, and it's basic. You can do better.
It is. It's very basic. And again, I mean,
it's a nice go-to, but just use it well, I guess.
100%. If you're gonna use it, you really have to use it strategically. And I will say, I'm one of the people who has used utilitarianism many times.
Many a time.
But coming from not only a judging standpoint, but also a competitor standpoint, it just doesn't stand out to me. It's just not the best. There's so many you could choose from, and I don't think util is the thing. But
what exactly is utilitarianism?
Yeah, literally. McCartney, do you want to explain it?
Sure thing. I'll explain utilitarianism.
All right.
So, I'm gonna, after describing what exactly util is, which is short for utilitarianism, I'm just gonna kind of give you guys an example of how to properly, I guess, what the point of a criterion is throughout the round and how you're gonna be using it. Yeah. That way you can get a better grasp of what exactly this whole debacle is.
Yeah, and we'll use that utilitarianism to kind of show that.
Yes, that will be our example. But let's start out, what the flip is utilitarianism? Utilitarianism is a criterion that states whatever actions you're doing in your case are for the greatest amount of good for the greatest number of people.
Exactly.
Let's put this into a little perspective for you.
Yeah.
So let's just say, for example, your value in a round is happiness, and your criterion is utilitarianism. What you're trying to do is prove not only how your case upholds the value of happiness through utilitarianism, you're also trying to demonstrate how your value should be prioritized over your opponent's value.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, this is a whole jumble of words. But essentially what you're going to try to do is prove how your case provides the greatest amount of happiness for the greatest number of people.
Exactly. And a big thing, and we're going to give another example of a different criteria in a second that gets mixed up with utilitarianism a lot. What I want to point out to you is utilitarianism is essentially the ends justify the means.
Yes.
Now, that's a very extravagant way of saying that whatever result you get from something justifies what it took to get there.
Yes.
So, for instance, if a boy stole from a sick grandma, like stole food from a sick grandma to feed his mom who was dying of starvation, and then she lived, you are justifying
justifies
that.
him stealing from his grandma
Exactly.
because he's providing a greater number of good for his mom.
Yeah, exactly. So it's essentially just ends justify the means.
Yes.
Our next example is the opposite of that, basically.
Yes.
So let's talk about
deontology. What even is deontology?
I like how he gave it such a good intro and you don't like deontology.
Well,
so that's lovely.
It's not that I don't like it. I just never really used it because back in the day, I was a close-minded debater.
Close-minded.
I was like, why would I do all that when I could stick to my norm? So I never used... Shut up. I know now that utilitarianism is basic and boring and annoying. No offense if you use it. Because I was there too.
This whole episode is just hating on LD and utilitarianism.
Deontology, still,
Hello.
I don't really like deontology. So actually, scratch all of what I just said. I just don't like LD, I think, is what the point is here. But it's just not my cup of tea. If you like LD, then you go for it. I bet you're amazing.
Yeah.
It's not for me. Not anymore.
It's right person, wrong time. Or wait, no, wrong person, right time. Wait.
Wrong person, wrong time.
Okay, we're so off hand here.
It's okay.
Deontology. What is deontology?
So, deontology is essentially saying that it is your moral duty your moral obligation to provide whatever your value is. So, let's give a little example of why deontology can be a slippery slope. However, if used well, it can probably be pretty good.
Yeah. Utilitarianism's pretty slippery too.
That's true. Well, technically all of them are. Just whatever you're doing, do it well.
Make that slope have a staircase.
Yes. But let's have a little example. Let's put deontology into perspective for you.
Yes. Dim the lights again.
Yes, dim the lights. Okay.
Lock in.
So, let's say that you're trying to prove with using deontology that it is your moral obligation to always tell the truth.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
And let's say you're just inside of your house, going about your day, when somebody knocks on the door and they're like, oh my gosh, a murderer is after me. Can I please hide in your house? And you're like, yeah, and you let them inside and you just go about your life. You just have a person in there hiding.
Okay.
You're protecting someone, which is all good. Sounds great. But then you hear another knock on the door. That was my knocking. It probably sounded really bad on this recording.
It's okay.
But it's fine. So you open the door to see a scary-looking person appear in front of you.
Ooh.
And he says, is there somebody hiding in your house? Because I've been trying to kill someone, and I think they hid in here. It's like a murderer, right?
Oh my god.
But if you're sticking by the criterion of deontology, and you're trying to prove how it is your moral obligation to tell the truth, then you're going to have to tell the guy, yeah, your murder victim is hiding inside of my house right now. You've upholded the value of truth, but
You've also killed someone in the process.
It just cost somebody's life. So it's essentially I guess, utilitarianism was the ends justify the means, whereas deontology is the means justify the ends. Even though somebody had to get killed, in the end, you told the truth. So it's justified, I guess.
Yeah.
That's why deontology is a slippery slope.
It is very slippery. So, moral of the story,
just use it well.
Don't tell the murderer that there's the victim in the house.
Don't tell a murderer that their victim is hiding safely inside your house. But also, just use deontology well.
Literally. Honestly, that's, I feel like, the moral of the story. Because it's a morality debate. Oh! We're so great.
Okay.
The last example is used in PF all the time.
Honestly, yes. Okay, so
But it can be used
this is going to be our last example of a criterion that can be used in LD, but keep in mind, this is the basically weighing system used in public forum debate.
Yes.
So you're not going to see this quite as much in LD, but I still have seen people use it in LD. Yes. So if you do it properly and still involve morals in the process, it can be used well.
Yeah,
but our next criterion is cross-benefit analysis, which is basically just saying that the benefits outweigh the costs in a round. So if there's more pros to an argument on your side, then those will outweigh the or I guess not essentially more, but if the benefits on an argument completely outweigh the cons, then you're just trying to prove, I guess, how exactly the pros on your case outweigh the cons of the other team's case.
Yeah. So, like, actions are good when benefits outweigh costs.
Exactly. So this criterion is basically what PF debate is built around, but it can also be used in LD if you keep it, like, moral. If you keep the debate based all around morality and ethics.
Yeah. In my opinion, I think that cost-benefit analysis isn't the best for LD.
It's not really the best, but if you use it well and keep focused on morals, then I think it can be okay.
Yeah, it can work. And again,
it's just not that great.
Yeah, like we've said, the examples we're providing, honestly, we're just providing the most popular ones to give you an idea, but like I said, there are so many others that you can find.
Yes. Plus, none of us currently do LD, so while we do have experience, I'd say it's probably better to just, if you're planning on doing LD, talk to people who are actually, like, actively doing LD, and talk to your coach, and look into LD more outside of just this podcast, because although we have experience, we're giving an overview and not, we're like, not that qualified. Yeah, we definitely have experience with it, but I will say, first of all, LD cases are 100% customized to, like, how you argue in a debate round. And so, like, the way that I would handle a Lincoln Douglas debate round is completely different from how McCartney might run hers. Yeah. And what her criterion and values are and how she would run it on a specific topic. So, moral of the story is... hilarious. Is do more independent research on this. We're just giving you an overview. And I hope it makes sense. And if there are any inaccuracies, I am so sorry. I have not done LD in about a year. So. Trust. In 2 weeks' time, our next episode is about HD. And that... Yes, that we are qualified. Exactly. But we'll get on that. We'll get on that train at our next stop. Yes. So, let's move on. Get out of this crazy criterion. Yes. Now that we know what a case looks like, how exactly is a round structured in LD? Good question. So every debate event is structured completely different. And LD has its own special times. McCartney, what are the times? So the speech times in LD, which basically, if you don't know what speech times are, it's just how long each person is going to be talking and what they're going to be saying during each, I guess, like, speech interval or speech that they're yapping for. So the speech times in LD are 6373463. So phone number. Yes, it's a fake phone number if you need a fake if you're in a fake phone number situation. 6373463 is your best friend. It literally is. But so if you're on the affirmative side in a debate, which basically means that you agree with whatever the resolution is, you're going to get up and you're going to talk about your case for 6 minutes, and then you're going to sit down, and then for 3 minutes you're going to have a cross-examination period, which is basically where your opponent asks you questions. Yeah, and so if you've ever watched... Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. No, if you've ever watched, like, a law show, I feel like they have a lot of, like, cross-examinations on there. Yes. So it's basically... I think this LD, the first one, remember, it's 3 minutes. It is your opponent who's going to be questioning you. Yes.
So they're going to be asking you questions. The thing with cross-examination, and I feel like this goes for all forms of debate, cross-ex is used very strategically to try and catch you on things that they can use later in their rebuttals.
Like,
so be careful.
You. Know your case and know it well.
Yes. Know your case and know your topic.
Yes.
Really well.
Make sure that you have a full understanding so that you don't get caught up in cross.
Exactly. So that's 6-3, yes. And then the next one is...
The next one is our 7. So now that you've read out your whole case and had a whole cross-examination period with your opponent, it's your opponent's turn to get up and read their case for the next 7 minutes. But they're not only going to read out their own case, sorry. Now that they know your case and that their speech is 7 minutes long,
which is a very long time for LD.
Once they're done reading their case, they're going to attack your case.
Ooh. It's where it getting real.
Yeah.
Real. So yeah, they can use people will split that 7 minutes in their own fun little way, but essentially they read in their case and then any remaining time they're going to use to do rebuttals on your case.
Yes.
Especially because a cross-examination period just finished.
Yes.
So that's usually where the first rebuttals come in, where it's getting intense.
What I did, and you guys don't have to do this, you don't have to split your time like this, but what I did is last year I was new at, I guess, LD. So my cases were pretty short. So I only really read my case out for like the first 3 minutes of the 7 minutes. And then I spent the remaining 4 minutes trying to attack all of my opponent's points. Yeah. You don't have to split the time like that, but it's pretty close to a 50-50 split. And I don't know if you're... I guess, yeah.
Yeah, no.
That's just an example of what I did, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
And I think it's good to do that. Again, obviously, you always want to attack as many points as you can.
Attack all of them.
Yeah, don't drop anything.
Don't drop a point.
The sooner that you can attack stuff, though, the better if you're on neg. Because, just cuz, you know?
Yes.
Don't question me. Okay?
Don't question
me.
Authority.
Don't question...
Oh,
getting real. Okay, so we've been through 6, 3, 7. What's our next one?
Our next 3 is yet another cross-examination period. But instead of the negative asking the affirmative questions, this time the affirmative is going to ask negative questions about their case and try to get them caught up on their case.
Exactly.
Yes.
And again, if I'm feeling fancy, I'll have some more in-depth links about cross-examination maybe in the link in the description on Spotify and on YouTube, because again, cross-ex is like so strategic, I feel like. And if you're...
I was never good. I'm still not great at cross.
I like cross actually.
It's really good. It's very useful to get your opponent stuck and kind of, I guess, take the lead in a debate round. I just personally have never been very good at it.
Yeah. No, I totally feel you. Cross-examination can be nerve-wracking, but
literally,
if you learn to utilize it well, it can be really helpful. So 6-3, 7-3, and then...
Next we have a 4, which is the affirmative's turn to get back up and not only defend their own points, but also attack their opponent's case.
Yeah, this is where the spreading really starts.
Yes, so... People will usually, if they have a lot to fit in, they're going to talk pretty much, I guess, just faster than they were before. They shouldn't be spreading. If they're really poo-poo heads, then maybe they will spread. But spreading is basically just talking so fast that it's basically, like, I don't even know what you're
impossible to
saying,
understand
literally.
What they're saying.
But since they only have 4 minutes to both defend their case and attack their opponent's case, they probably will be speeding up in talking.
Yeah. 4 minutes is not a lot of time. So again, on the affirmative, like, while your opponent is giving their 7-minute speech, so that's before the cross-ex period we just talked about, you need to utilize that time to plan out what you're going to say.
Yes, as your opponent lists out their contentions and then attacks your contentions,
you should be
just
scribbling.
Try to think of attacks on the spot and quickly jot those down. You also will have, like, prep time that you can use throughout the round if you need extra time to write stuff down or come up with stuff.
Yes.
But what I like to do is just, or I guess what I did last year, is I wrote stuff down immediately after it was said.
Yeah, same.
Yes. And
yeah, really making sure you keep tracking of everything. So yeah, now you've given your 4-minute speech. So now 6, 3, 7, 3, 4,
6.
Ooh.
Okay. So
It's the negatives' turn now. So they're going to walk on up there and they're going to give a 6-minute speech. And this is the rebuttal
this
speech.
is the second negative rebuttal, which basically what they're going to do is they're going to defend all of their points because they were just attacked by the affirmative, and then they're just going to essentially make it clear why they think that they won today's round. They're going to give voting issues, which if you don't know what those are just like reasons. on why they won.
Yeah, basically just saying, like, so if you have just finished your round, you're yapping away, you finish defending your own points because you're on negative, and then you finish off and you're like, Judge, I'd now like to provide some voting issues that I've noticed in today's round. Some people will go over main points of clash, but that's more of a PF thing.
That's a PF thing. I feel like you won't see that as much in LD.
Yeah.
I personally never really saw main points of clash, but I did see voting issues a lot. So people will be giving voting issues on why they think that they won the round.
Yeah. So examples of, like, if your opponent drops an entire contention, that's a huge voting issue. Don't drop contentions, my guy. Just stuff like that. It can be different reasons. And then after the negative finishes, they're done. They can take a deep breath. The affirmative is not, because they have to finish us out with the last 3-minute speech.
The 3-minute speech. Okay, so this is the second affirmative rebuttal, but because this is the last speech of the round, they can no longer attack their opponent's case because their opponent won't have any time to respond to them. And that is called sliming. You do not want to do that. Do not attack your opponent's case in the last speech of the debate.
Yeah, that is mean.
It's bullying. And also your judge will probably notice if you're doing that. And if they're good, then they'll
call you out.
They will call you out
on your ballot.
Yes.
So, yeah, all you're doing is defending and, once again, presenting voting issues.
Yes.
Basically the same thing as...
You're going to just want to go over why you think you won the round.
Yeah. So, really, again, just defending why you won the round, and then you are done.
I think you'll have much else to defend, though, because the second negative rebuttal, if I remember correctly, should just be them defending their case.
Yeah.
But also... I could be wrong because I haven't done LD.
No, you're right. So, in the 2NR, so that's the rebuttal that just came before the final affirmative speech, they are not supposed to make new arguments.
Okay.
So yeah.
So do not make any new arguments in the last affirmative speech.
Yeah. You're really just reiterating. Everything you've said throughout the round.
Just prove why you think you won the round.
Yeah.
Do some little voting issues.
Exactly. And like we said, you do have prep time during LD, which is a huge thing. Prep time can be used in, like, so many frickin' ways. Each person gets 4 minutes, I believe.
4 minutes that you should probably spread evenly throughout the round. I don't recommend using it all at once.
No.
Do not do that.
It is definitely not the best strategy. You could. But if you do it that way, I am a little bit concerned
I
for
question
you. I question you. So yeah, then you finish off your round, you leave, and you hope.
You hope that you win.
And that is basically an overview of how an LD round works, how the structure is. So to finish off the episode, we're going to talk a little bit about our personal tips and tricks. I'll go first because I don't have that many. Because
need to think of some quick.
So for me, first biggest tip, use the LD speech times as a fake phone number. This is my biggest tip, you guys. I don't know if y'all know, but at tournaments, sometimes there are some creepy people who are, like, following you around being like, can I have your phone number? And it is...
Can I get your snap?
Here. And, let me preface this. It's okay to ask them for their phone number. I even encourage it. I think that you should be open to romantical achievements within your life. However, don't follow people around, and when they say no,
don't be
you
scary.
Walk away. So if a person is following you around and kind of being a repetitive oddball,
an oddball,
or if you're just not wanting to reject them up front and you just need a little bit of a a scapegoat. You can use the LD speech times, which again, McCartney, could you list them for us like you're giving your number?
6373463.
Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum.
Yes.
So you can use those times to your advantage. Will they end up probably texting a random number? Yes.
Probably.
However, that is not your problem.
If you need it, there you go.
Exactly. That's my first biggest tip. My second biggest thing is really, it kind of just all goes back to value and criterion. Obviously, I'm giving kind of basic tips and tricks because I did not do LD for that long, but my biggest thing, all of your contentions should be directly feeding in to your value and your criterion. Do not forget the framework. It's a mistake that I feel like I see a lot in LD, even though, at least in like novice LD, because I have judged it a few times, and that's the biggest thing that I see, is that they forget about their framework.
Not only trying to make sure your case upholds your framework, but make sure that you're weighing that a lot throughout the round and like repetitively stressing how your side upholds framework better than your opponent's does. That's going to be, for a lot of judges, like the determining factor of who wins, especially if it's a really close round. Just make sure that you hold up your framework better than the other team, because contentions are still very important. Don't drop a contention.
For sure.
But the main point of LD is morality, and that's determined through your framework.
And yes, you can attack your opponent's value and criterion.
Yes.
Just as a...
Actually do that. Like, please do that.
Don't forget to do that.
You're trying to prove how theirs is bad and yours is good.
Those are really all my tips. I did not do LD for very long. Obviously, I know LD and I know how to teach it, but I'm not an expert.
Yeah, that's
and something
fair.
I think throughout this entire podcast, like, we are two high schoolers who have done speech and debate for a few years now, but we're not experts in everything. So we obviously make mistakes. But I do hope at least some of the stuff helped you. McCartney, do you have some personal tips and tricks?
First of all, again, I have not done LD in a year, and while I do have a year's worth of experience, I dropped all that at the end of last year. We had to do some, like, so much research today,
soul searching,
just to get a recap on what basic knowledge of LD, like, is.
We had to reevaluate some things.
So I guess what I'm saying is just take my advice with a grain of salt, because it might be bad. I do PF now, and that is very different. And I'm gonna be real honest, I'm not even that phenomenal at PF, so...
Okay, McCartney's being really mean to herself. She's very good.
And
qualified for regionals easily. Anyway, the point is... Go ahead.
The point is, sorry if this advice sucks. Take it with a grain of salt. Only use it if you think it sounds good. But what is my advice? Let me think here, actually.
It's a good question, McCartney.
That is a great question.
The advice is really, I think, just do your best.
Yes, because your best is enough.
I
guess something I was never good at, again, is cross-X, but try to get good at cross-X, because if you get your opponent stuck in cross-X, you can carry that throughout the round, and you can prove how their case is bad and I guess get the win that way. So make sure to ask good questions in cross.
100%.
What else?
Yeah, it's a big thing. Overall, again, we're not experts, but I hope that today's episode helped you out a little bit.
Yes.
We did spend a really long time recording it.
Yes.
We definitely had some hurdles today, but that's okay.
So apologies for our lack of tips. Like, that is...
Yes, apologies for
our next episode will probably be a lot more in depth.
It is going to be HD. That is, we're very excited for our next episode. But yes, apologies again. Obviously this wasn't our best, I fear, but next week. Not next week. In 2 weeks.
Our next episode.
Trust. It's going to be really good.
Yes.
But I do hope that this helped you.
I hope it at least gives you basic knowledge.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
that's all we have is basic knowledge.
If you have any comments or concerns or just kind of corrections over anything, shoot us a DM at our Instagram. We post there pretty often, I would say. And we share fun little updates about our lives, about the podcast, and you can really just send us stuff there. Once again, our Instagram is at That's Time Speech and Debate. Go check us out. We have lots of stuff. And just reiterating once more, if you want to nominate someone for the Speech and Debate Nerd of the Week award, shoot us a DM.
Yes.
Provide a little explanation so that we know something about them. And trust, we will consider it.
Yes, we will highly consider.
But that is all we have for you guys today. Hope you have a fire day.
I hope it was a decent episode.
I hope it was a decent episode.
It took a really long time.
Also, again, shout out to Maddie Mape.
Yes.
Maddie Mape.
Our LD
queen. Oh, yeah.
And with that,
That's time.